Beyond Sumer, tracing Anunnaki influence globally. What if everything you know is wrong? What if human history hides deeper secrets? The Anunnaki are more than myths. They are more than Sumerian legends. Their influence spread across the entire world. Today, we explore their global connections. Prepare to question everything you learned. Ancient civilizations share too many similarities. These connections cannot be simple coincidence. The evidence will challenge your worldview completely. Are you ready for the truth? Let's begin this extraordinary journey together. Who were the Anunnaki? Ancient Sumer-held secrets we're rediscovering. Between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers thrived. A civilization emerged around 4500 BCE. They possessed knowledge beyond their time. The Sumerians spoke of powerful beings. These beings came from the heavens. They called them the Anunnaki. The name means those who descended. But who were these mysterious visitors? Were they gods or something else? The ancient texts provide intriguing clues. Let's examine what the Sumerians recorded. The traditional Sumerian narrative. The Anunnaki shaped human civilization completely. Ancient tablets describe their incredible powers. They brought knowledge to early humans. Agriculture, mathematics, and astronomy were gifts. The Sumerians credit them with everything. Writing itself came from their teachings. They established the first city-states. Eridu, Uruk, and rose magnificently. Ziggurats reached toward the heavens symbolically. These temples connected earth to sky. The Anunnaki demanded worship and offerings. They lived among humans for centuries. Their leader was called Anu. Enlil controlled the winds and storms. Enki brought wisdom and creative knowledge. Inanna ruled love, war, and fertility. These beings had human-like personalities. They quarreled, loved, and fought wars. The texts describe very specific details. This wasn't abstract religious philosophy. These were records of actual events, or so the ancient Sumerians believed. Beyond the local deity theory, traditional scholars dismiss them as myths. They say these were imaginary gods, just stories to explain natural phenomena. But that explanation feels too simple. The Sumerians were incredibly advanced people. They invented the wheel and plow. They created sophisticated irrigation systems completely. They understood mathematics and kept records. Would such practical people invent fantasies? Or were they documenting real experiences? The details in texts are specific. They describe physical appearances and technologies. They record genealogies spanning multiple generations. They document specific locations and dates. This resembles historical record-keeping, not mythology. Something more complex was happening here. The Anunnaki may transcend simple religion. The seeds of global influence. Here's where things become truly fascinating. The Anunnaki story doesn't end here. Similar beings appear across the world. Different names, but remarkably similar descriptions. They arrive from the sky mysteriously. They teach humanity essential knowledge. They shape the course of civilizations. These parallels span thousands of miles. They cross oceans and vast continents. Cultures with no apparent contact share stories. The similarities are simply too striking. Could the Anunnaki have traveled globally? Did their influence reach beyond Mesopotamia? The evidence suggests something truly extraordinary. Let's explore these global connections together. The mystery of pre-Columbian civilizations. The Americas developed in supposed isolation. No contact with old world civilizations. At least that's the traditional story. But evidence suggests something quite different. Advanced civilizations emerged suddenly and mysteriously. They possessed knowledge that puzzles experts. Their achievements rival ancient Mesopotamia completely. The timing is also remarkably suspicious. Let's examine the evidence more carefully. The enigmatic Olmec civilization. The Olmec appeared around 1500 BCE. They built Mexico's first great civilization. Their achievements defy simple explanations completely. Consider their famous giant head sculptures. These massive stone heads weigh tons. Some reach over 10 feet tall. They were carved from single basalt blocks. The quarries were miles from construction sites. How did they transport such weight? They had no wheels or animals. The technology required seems impossible then. Yet there they stand today. The faces show distinct, unusual features. Some researchers note African or Mesopotamian characteristics. How could this be possible? The Atlantic crossing was supposedly impossible. Yet the evidence sits before us. Olmec knowledge and astronomy. The Olmec understood astronomy remarkably well. They tracked celestial movements with precision. They created accurate calendars and systems. Their mathematical knowledge was highly advanced. They understood the concept of zero. This concept appeared in only few places. Sumer had it, and so Olmecs. Were these independent discoveries or shared knowledge? The timing raises serious questions indeed. Mayan connections and sky gods. The Maya inherited Olmec knowledge directly. They expanded it to incredible heights. Their pyramids mirror Mesopotamian ziggurats structurally. Both reached toward the heavens symbolically. The Maya spoke of sky visitors. They called them various powerful names. Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god, descended. He brought knowledge, writing, and civilization. This story sounds remarkably familiar somehow. The Anunnaki narrative echoes here strongly. Beings from sky teaching humanity knowledge. The parallel is simply too obvious. Mayan astronomical achievements. Mayan astronomy rivals modern precision completely. They tracked Venus with incredible accuracy. Their calculations were more precise than Europeans. They predicted eclipses centuries in advance. They understood complex celestial mechanics fully. How did they achieve this knowledge? They had no telescopes or instruments. They had no contact with astronomers. Yet their knowledge was absolutely extraordinary. Some texts describe sky watchers, beings who taught them celestial knowledge. Were these the Anunnaki under names? The descriptions certainly suggest that possibility. The Great Flood narratives. Nearly every American culture remembers floods. The Maya recorded a great deluge. The Aztecs spoke of world destructions. Hopi traditions describe similar catastrophic events. These stories parallel the Sumerian version. The Epic of Gilgamesh describes flooding. The Anunnaki warned humanity before destruction. One man built a great boat. He saved humanity and animal species. The biblical flood derives from this, but similar stories exist in Americas. The Mayan Popol Vuh describes flooding. The gods destroyed humanity with water. Only few survivors remained to rebuild. The details match surprisingly well globally. Were all these independent inventions somehow? Or do they remember actual events? Advanced architectural mysteries. Consider the precision of Mayan construction. Massive stones fit together perfectly tight. No mortar holds them in place. You cannot slip paper between stones. The technology required is mind-boggling completely. They moved stones weighing many tons through dense jungle, across difficult terrain. They placed them with impossible precision. Modern engineers struggle to replicate this. Similar techniques appear in ancient Sumer, and in Egypt and in Peru. The same impossible precision appears everywhere. Is this mere coincidence or connection? The Nazca Line's connection. Further south, Peru holds more mysteries. The Nazca Lines stretch across desert. Massive geoglyphs, visible only from sky. They depict animals, geometric shapes perfectly. Some stretch for miles across Earth. The lines are perfectly straight somehow. The proportions are mathematically precise throughout. Why create art visible only above? Who were they communicating with exactly? The ancient Nazca spoke of gods, sky beings who watched from above. They created these designs as messages to communicate with their celestial visitors. This matches the Anunnaki narrative perfectly. Beings who came from the skies, beings who watched humanity from above. Technology beyond its time. Many American artifacts defy easy explanation. Crystal skulls display impossible craftsmanship completely. They show no tool marks whatsoever. Modern technology struggles to replicate them. How did ancient peoples achieve this? Metal artifacts show advanced metallurgy knowledge. Some alloys shouldn't exist in prehistory. The knowledge required was extremely sophisticated. Similar advanced artifacts appear in Sumer. The same impossible achievements repeated globally. The Dogon and their stellar knowledge. West Africa holds remarkable secrets too. The Dogon people of Mali fascinate. Their astronomical knowledge defies all explanation. They knew details about Sirius' star. Sirius has an invisible companion star. Sirius B orbits the main star. It's invisible to the naked eye. Modern telescopes discovered it in 1862, but the Dogon knew for centuries. They drew accurate diagrams of it. They knew its 50-year orbital period. They knew it was incredibly dense. How could they possibly know this? They say beings from Sirius visited. These beings, called Namo, brought knowledge. They came in spinning, descending craft. They taught astronomy, mathematics, and agriculture. The story sounds remarkably familiar again. Sky beings bringing knowledge to humanity. The Anunnaki pattern repeats once more. Ancient Egypt's mysterious origins. Egypt's civilization appeared suddenly and complete. No gradual development process was visible. They emerged with full knowledge immediately. Writing, mathematics, and astronomy were mastered. Advanced architecture appeared from the beginning. The pyramids demonstrate impossible precision engineering. The Great Pyramid aligns perfectly cardinal. Its measurements encode mathematical constants mysteriously. The blocks fit with millimeter precision. Some blocks weigh over 70 tons. They were placed hundreds feet high. Modern engineers cannot explain the methods. The official timeline doesn't make sense. How did they achieve this immediately? Egyptian gods and sky visitors. Egyptian mythology describes sky gods clearly. Ra descended from the heavens above. Osiris brought civilization and knowledge completely. Thoth gave writing and sacred wisdom. These beings came from the stars. They ruled Egypt during ancient times. The pharaohs claimed descent from them. They were god kings, semi-divine rulers. This matches the Anunnaki narrative perfectly. Beings from sky breeding with humans, creating hybrid rulers over early civilizations. The parallels are absolutely undeniable here. The mystery of ancient Indian texts. Ancient India holds incredible written records. The Vedas describe flying machines clearly. They called them vimanas in Sanskrit. These craft flew through air freely. They could travel to the stars. The texts describe their construction methods. They explain propulsion systems in detail. They describe weapons of incredible power. Some descriptions sound like nuclear weapons. Cities destroyed in single massive blasts. The ground turned to glass afterward. Radiation sickness affected the survivors described. How could ancient texts know this? Were they recording actual historical events, or purely imaginative science fiction writing? The Vimanas and advanced technology. The descriptions are far too specific. They describe different types of craft. Some were for atmospheric travel only. Others could reach the celestial realms. They describe various propulsion methods used. Mercury vortex engines are mentioned specifically. Anti-gravity technology is clearly described throughout. These weren't vague, poetic descriptions somehow. These were technical manuals and records. Modern researchers have studied them carefully. Some believe they describe actual technology far beyond that era's capabilities, unless outside knowledge was provided somehow. The ancient astronaut theory in India. Indian texts describe the devas clearly. These were celestial beings from above. They possessed incredible powers and knowledge. They could fly and control weather. They had weapons that devastated armies. They bred with human women regularly. This created semi-divine, hybrid offspring always. The stories parallel Sumerian texts exactly. The Anunnaki did precisely the same. They came from sky and ruled. They mated with human women often. They created the Nephilim, hybrid beings. The Bible even confirms this story. Genesis describes sons of God mating. They took daughters of men wives. Their offspring were mighty men, giants. The same story appears across cultures. Chinese dragon kings and celestial emperors. Ancient China speaks of dragon ancestors. The first emperors descended from heaven. They brought knowledge and civilized humanity. Dragons were wise, powerful celestial beings. They could fly through the clouds. They controlled weather and brought rain. They taught agriculture and writing systems. The Yellow Emperor came from above. He descended in a flying dragon. He ruled and taught for centuries. Then he ascended back to heavens. The story repeats the same pattern. Sky beings coming to teach humanity. Ruling for a time, then leaving. Japanese Dogon figurines mystery. Ancient Japan produced mysterious clay figurines. The Dogon date back thousands years. They wear what appears like space suits. They have large goggle-like eyes clearly. They have elaborate suits with fastenings. Some show antenna-like protrusions on helmets. Why would ancient peoples create these? What were they actually trying to depict? Traditional explanations don't satisfy the evidence. Could they have seen beings wearing advanced suits or protective equipment perhaps? The question remains open and fascinating. The universal winged disc symbol. One symbol appears across the world. The winged disc shows up everywhere. Ancient Sumer depicted it prominently always. It represented the Anunnaki sky ships. The same symbol appears in Egypt. It represents Ra, the sun god. It appears in Persian Zoroastrian art. It represents Ahura Mazda, supreme deity. It appears in ancient Mayan artwork. It appears in Hittite and Assyrian. The same design repeated across continents, separated by thousands of miles completely. Were these independent artistic inventions somehow? Or were they depicting the same actual flying craft perhaps? Serpent symbolism across cultures. The serpent appears in every culture, often associated with wisdom and knowledge. The Sumerian Enki was serpent associated completely. He brought knowledge and wisdom always. The Mesoamerican Quetzalcoatl was feathered serpent. He brought civilization and knowledge too. The Chinese dragons were serpentine beings. They brought wisdom and imperial authority. The Egyptian Wadjet was cobra goddess. She represented protection and royal power. The Hindu Nagas were serpent deities. They possessed ancient wisdom and knowledge. Even the biblical serpent offered knowledge, though portrayed negatively in that context. The pattern is absolutely undeniable here. Serpent beings bringing forbidden knowledge repeatedly. Pyramid architecture worldwide. Pyramids appear on every inhabited continent. Egypt built the most famous ones, but pyramids exist in Mesopotamia too. The ziggurats were stepped pyramid structures. Mexico and Central America built pyramids. The Maya and Aztec constructed them. Peru has pyramids predating Egypt possibly. Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt. China has massive pyramid structures hidden. Indonesia has Gunung Padang pyramid complex. Bosnia has controversial pyramid structures claimed. Even Native American mounds resemble pyramids. Why did unconnected cultures build similarly? The pyramid shape appears almost universal. Were they all copying the same original template or design? Megalithic construction mysteries. Massive stone construction appears globally everywhere. Stonehenge in England displays precision engineering. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey predates agriculture. It shows sophisticated construction techniques completely. Baalbek in Lebanon has impossible stones. Some blocks weigh over 1,000. Modern cranes cannot lift these blocks. How did ancients move and place? Sacsayhuaman in Peru shows precision cutting. Massive stones fit together impossibly tight. Easter Island's Moai statues weigh. They were transported miles across terrain. Nan Madol in Micronesia has basalt. Massive structures built on coral reef. All these sites defy simple explanation. Similar techniques used across the world. Universal flood narratives. Nearly every culture remembers the flood. The Sumerian flood predates all others. Ziusudra built Ark and survived complete. The biblical Noah story derives directly. The details match almost exactly throughout. Hindu texts describe Manu and flood. He saved humanity and animal species. Greek mythology has Deucalion's flood story. He and Pyrrha survived divine destruction. Native American tribes remember great flooding. Chinese mythology describes Gunyu controlling floods. Aboriginal Australians have flood dreamtime stories. African tribes remember waters destroying Earth. Were all these independent inventions somehow? Over 500 cultures have flood stories. They describe remarkably similar details throughout. A global catastrophe seems more likely. Creation myths and genetic engineering. Creation stories share surprising similarities globally. Gods create humans from clay repeatedly. The Sumerian Enki shaped humanity thus. Egyptian Khnum molded humans on wheel. Greek Prometheus created humans from clay. Chinese Nuwa formed humans from mud. Mayan gods tried multiple times, failed, finally succeeding with corn-based humans created. But many stories describe something else. Gods breeding with early human females, creating hybrid offspring that were superior. The Anunnaki created workers this way. They needed labor for gold mining. They genetically engineered modern humanity, allegedly, mixing their DNA with primitive humans. The result was us, Homo sapiens. Could this explain the missing link? The sudden leap in human evolution, astronomical alignments and knowledge. Ancient sites align with celestial events. The Great Pyramid aligns with Orion. Stonehenge tracks solstices and equinoxes precisely. Angkor Wat mirrors the Draco constellation. Teotihuacan aligns with the Pleiades star. Giza pyramids mirror Orion's belt exactly. The precision is absolutely extraordinary throughout. These alignments required advanced astronomical knowledge. They required sophisticated mathematical calculations completely. They required long-term observations and records. How did separate cultures achieve this? Did they share a common source? A common teacher providing celestial knowledge? Impossible coincidences add up. Let's review what we've discovered together. Similar beings appearing across the world. Sky gods bringing knowledge and civilization. Advanced astronomy in supposedly primitive cultures. Identical construction techniques used globally everywhere. The same symbols appearing on continents. Universal flood memories across all cultures. Similar creation, myths involving genetic manipulation. Pyramid architecture on every inhabited continent. Precise astronomical alignments repeated everywhere worldwide. How many coincidences can we accept? At what point do coincidences become? At what point must we reconsider? The gold mining theory. Many researchers propose interesting ideas here. The Anunnaki came seeking gold specifically. They needed it for their planet, perhaps to repair atmospheric problems there. They initially mined it themselves, laboriously, but the work proved too difficult, so they created workers through engineering. They modified existing primitive human species. They created Homo sapiens for this. We were designed as their workforce. This explains the sudden evolutionary leap. Around 200,000 years ago it happened. Anatomically modern humans appeared almost instantly. The fossil record shows little transition. This puzzles mainstream scientists greatly still. Ancient mining operations evidence. Evidence of ancient mining does exist. Southern Africa has incredibly ancient mines. Some date back over 100,000 years. Modern humans supposedly didn't exist then. Who was mining there that early? What were they mining so extensively? Gold deposits were heavily worked somehow. The scale suggests organized industrial operations, not simple, primitive Stone Age work. Similar ancient mines exist in Americas, in Bolivia, Peru, and Chile regions, all focused on gold and copper, all dating impossibly far back historically. The departure and its mystery. Most cultures describe gods leaving eventually. The Anunnaki withdrew from direct rule. They left Earth for unknown reasons. Perhaps their mission was accomplished completely. Perhaps circumstances changed on their world. The Mayan Kukulkan ascended to heaven. Chinese emperors returned to celestial realm. Hindu devas withdrew to higher planes. Egyptian gods stopped manifesting physically anymore. Across the world, the pattern repeats. Active divine presence becoming distant memory. But they promised to return someday. The return prophecy. Many cultures speak of gods returning. The Hopi await the blue star. Christians await the second coming event. Hindus await Kalki Avatar's arrival coming. The Maya predicted transformation and return. Norse mythology describes Ragnarok and rebirth. Islamic tradition awaits Mahdi's appearance clearly. Across religions and cultures, the theme of returning gods appears. Are these separate religious inventions only, or memories of actual promises made? Promises made by actual beings once. Ancient astronaut theory overview. The ancient astronaut theory proposes clearly. Advanced extraterrestrial beings visited Earth historically. They influenced early human civilizations significantly. They were remembered as gods afterward. This theory explains many anomalies completely. Impossible ancient technologies and knowledge suddenly. Global architectural and symbolic similarities everywhere. Sudden leaps in human capability appearing. The theory remains controversial in academia, but evidence continues accumulating steadily nonetheless. Archaeological anomalies and out-of-place artifacts. Strange artifacts challenge official timelines regularly. The Baghdad Battery suggests ancient electricity. The Antikythera mechanism shows impossible complexity. Ancient computers shouldn't exist in Greece. The Piri Rise map shows Antarctica. Antarctica without ice, as if surveyed. But it was covered thousands years. How did ancient cartographers know coastlines? Metallic spheres found in South Africa, dating back billions of years, impossibly. These anomalies get dismissed or ignored because they don't fit accepted narratives. The suppression question. Some researchers claim deliberate suppression occurs. Evidence that challenges mainstream narratives disappears. Archaeological sites get restricted from researchers. Artifacts vanish into museum storage rooms. Funding gets denied for controversial research. Careers get destroyed for asking questions. Is this protecting scientific integrity only, or protecting an accepted historical narrative? The question deserves serious consideration here. DNA and genetic mysteries. Modern genetics reveals surprising information consistently. Human DNA contains mysterious inactive segments. Some call it junk DNA mistakenly, but it's not junk at all. It contains information we don't understand. Some sequences have no apparent source. They don't match any evolutionary pathway. Where did these sequences come from? Were they inserted by outside intelligence? The Anunnaki genetic engineering theory suggests they modified primitive human genetic code, adding their own genetic material deliberately, creating hybrid beings with enhanced capabilities. This would explain the genetic mysteries. Missing link problems continue. Evolution theory has significant gaps remaining. The transition to modern humans puzzles. It happened far too quickly naturally. Around 200,000 years ago it occurred. Sudden appearance of advanced capabilities emerged. Language, art, complex thinking, and culture all appeared within narrow time window. No gradual development process is visible. This matches the Anunnaki intervention timeline, when they supposedly created modern humans. The correlation is striking and undeniable. Ancient knowledge preservation. Some knowledge survived through secret societies. Mystery schools preserved ancient wisdom carefully. The Egyptians had mystery school traditions. Greeks learned from Egyptian mystery schools. The knowledge passed through various groups. Templars, Rosicrucians, and Freemasons preserved secrets. They guarded ancient architectural knowledge especially. Sacred geometry and mathematical principles hidden. Knowledge supposedly from the gods themselves. Were they preserving actual technological information? Information from the Anunnaki civilization, perhaps. Modern UFO connections. Modern UFO sightings increase dramatically worldwide. Witnesses describe craft matching ancient descriptions. Flying discs, cylindrical ships, and triangles. The same shapes depicted in art. Ancient cave paintings show disc objects. Medieval paintings include flying craft clearly. These weren't imagination or religious symbolism. They were depicting what people witnessed. Are the Anunnaki still here observing? Are they preparing for prophesied return? The connection seems worth considering seriously. Academic mainstream position. Most academics reject ancient astronaut theories. They consider them pseudoscience and fantasy. They have valid points worth considering. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof always. We must acknowledge this reasonable standard. The evidence remains largely circumstantial currently. No Anunnaki spacecraft has been found. No alien bodies have been discovered. No clear technological artifacts remain verified. The skepticism is scientifically appropriate here. Alternative explanations offered. Mainstream scholars offer conventional explanations instead. Ancient peoples were more capable assumed. They achieved feats through determination entirely. Simple tools and lots of labor. Generations of accumulated knowledge and skill. Independent invention explains the similarities argued. Humans everywhere face same problems similarly, so they develop similar solutions naturally. Flood myths reflect local catastrophic events. Not one global flood, but many. Astronomical knowledge came from patient observation. Mathematics developed gradually over many centuries. These explanations are certainly possible, absolutely. The diffusion versus independent invention debate. This debate has raged for decades. Did ideas spread through human contact? Or did separate cultures invent independently? Both processes certainly occurred in history. The question is which explains what. Some similarities seem too specific, however. The winged disc symbol is exact. The pyramid form is precisely identical. The flood narratives match too closely. Independent invention seems less likely here. But the debate continues vigorously ongoing. The danger of pattern recognition. Human brains seek patterns constantly everywhere. Sometimes we see patterns that aren't. We connect dots that shouldn't connect. This is called apophenia or pareidolia. It's a real psychological phenomenon, clearly. We must guard against this tendency. Not every similarity means actual connection. Some coincidences are genuinely just coincidences. We must maintain critical thinking always. We must demand rigorous evidence standards while remaining open to unconventional possibilities. The balance is difficult but essential. Problems with ancient astronaut theory. The theory does have significant problems. Why would advanced aliens need human? Why not use robots for labor? Why leave so little definitive evidence? Why interact with primitive humans at all? The motivations don't always make sense. The timeline has inconsistencies and gaps. Different researchers propose contradictory versions often. Some claims have been thoroughly debunked. The theory attracts some questionable proponents. This doesn't invalidate everything automatically, though, but it requires careful, critical evaluation. What we can honestly say. Let's be intellectually honest here completely. We don't know with absolute certainty. The evidence is suggestive, but incomplete. It raises legitimate questions that deserve serious investigation and funding. But we cannot claim definitive proof. We cannot state this as fact. We can only present evidence and ask people to think critically, to question accepted narratives when appropriate, to remain open to possibilities considered, to demand better explanations from experts. That's all we can honestly do. What if it's true? Let's engage in thought experiment here. What if the Anunnaki were real? What would that mean for humanity? Our origin story would be false. We would be designed, not evolved. We would be created with purpose. But what purpose exactly was that? Were we slaves or something more? Did they care about us genuinely? Or were we just convenient tools? The questions are profound and unsettling. Religious implications and conflicts. This challenges every major religion fundamentally. It reinterprets creation stories as history. It suggests gods were actually aliens. It implies religious texts record events, actual events, not purely spiritual allegory. This doesn't necessarily negate spirituality entirely, but it changes the framework completely. Some people find this threatening, obviously. Others find it liberating and exciting. The theological implications are absolutely enormous. Human potential and purpose. If we were engineered for purpose, what was that purpose exactly intended? Were we meant to be servants? Or were we meant for greater? Perhaps we were meant to evolve, to grow beyond our original design. Perhaps that was the plan always. Create a species capable of transcendence, capable of joining the cosmic community. Maybe that's why they left eventually, to let us develop independently freely, to see if we would succeed. The Fermi paradox connection. The Fermi paradox asks a question. Where is everybody in the universe? If intelligent life is common out there, why haven't we detected anyone clearly? The Anunnaki theory offers one answer. They're here, they've always been here. They've been interacting with us always. We call them gods or spirits. We call them UFOs or phenomena, but they're the same entities throughout. This resolves the paradox elegantly somehow. Technology and the knowledge gap. If the Anunnaki possessed advanced technology, where did that technology go exactly? Why don't we have it now? Perhaps some was deliberately destroyed entirely. Perhaps some was hidden away carefully. Perhaps some still exists undiscovered somewhere. Ancient texts hint at powerful artifacts. The Ark of the Covenant was supposedly a powerful technological device. It could kill people who touched. It could level walls and armies. Was it Anunnaki technology preserved? Other artifacts are mentioned in texts. Crystal skulls, golden plates, mystical objects. Are these technological devices misunderstood completely? The return question. If they left, will they return? Many ancient prophecies suggest they will. They promised to come back someday. Is that day approaching now finally? UFO sightings have increased dramatically recently. Government agencies now acknowledge UFO reality. The Pentagon released videos and reports. They admit objects defy known physics. They admit we don't understand them. Is this disclosure process happening gradually, preparing humanity for the inevitable return? Or is this just coincidence? The need for open investigation. We need honest, scientific investigation here, without career fears or academic pressure, without ridicule or automatic dismissal happening. These questions deserve serious, rigorous study. They deserve funding and resources allocated. They deserve the best minds working, not fringe researchers, alone operating marginally, but mainstream scientists engaging seriously, honestly. The evidence deserves fair evaluation finally. What evidence would be conclusive? What would constitute definitive proof exactly? An actual spacecraft discovered and verified. Biological remains confirmed as non-human completely. Technology that couldn't be explained otherwise. A living Anunnaki appearing publicly worldwide. Perhaps nothing short of that works. Perhaps the evidence is inherently ambiguous. Perhaps we must accept uncertainty here, but we can still investigate thoroughly. We can still gather more data. We can still ask better questions. Citizen science and public involvement. This shouldn't be experts only deciding. Everyone can participate in this search. Study ancient texts and artifacts yourself. Visit archaeological sites and observe carefully. Question tour guides and official explanations. Support researchers doing unconventional work funding. Share information and evidence you discover. Demand transparency from academic institutions always. Demand access to restricted archaeological sites. The truth belongs to everyone equally, not just credentialed experts in ivory. preserving ancient sites and knowledge. Many ancient sites are threatened currently. War, development, and looting destroy evidence. Climate change threatens coastal archaeological sites. We're losing irreplaceable information constantly daily. We must protect what remains absolutely. We must document everything thoroughly now. We must digitize ancient texts urgently before they decay or get destroyed. The knowledge is humanity's shared heritage. We cannot allow it to vanish. The role of technology. Modern technology offers new investigative tools. Ground-penetrating radar reveals hidden structures completely. Satellite imagery discovers unknown archaeological sites. LiDAR penetrates jungle canopy, revealing cities. DNA analysis reveals ancient genetic relationships. Dating methods become more accurate constantly. Computer analysis finds patterns in data. These tools can unlock ancient secrets. They can test theories objectively and fairly. They can provide evidence that settles debates one way or another. Education and critical thinking. We must teach critical thinking skills. Question everything, including this video, obviously. Don't accept claims without evidence ever. But don't reject possibilities without investigation. Learn to evaluate sources and claims. Understand logical fallacies and cognitive biases. Recognize when you're being manipulated emotionally. Think independently, not following crowds mindlessly. This applies to mainstream narratives too. Question authority, but demand evidence always. This balanced approach is essential here. Reviewing the evidence presented. We've journeyed across continents and cultures. We've examined ancient texts and artifacts. We've explored impossible architectural achievements consistently. We've compared myths and symbols worldwide. We've considered astronomical knowledge and precision. We've questioned the official historical narrative. We've presented evidence of global connections that shouldn't exist but do. We've asked uncomfortable questions throughout honestly. We've challenged you to think differently. The weight of cumulative evidence. No single piece proves anything conclusively, but the cumulative weight is substantial. Pattern after pattern emerges clearly, consistently. Similarity after similarity appears across cultures. Anomaly after anomaly defies simple explanation. At what point do we acknowledge something extraordinary happened in history? Something that official narratives don't explain. We're not claiming absolute certainty here, but we're claiming legitimate questions exist. Questions that deserve answers and investigation. The Anunnaki legacy today. If the Anunnaki existed and visited, their legacy surrounds us completely still. Our civilization may rest on